Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. A reminder of our main stories. Call for devolution of power gets a boost as State Houses of Assembly Nigeria-backed proposal take a swipe at the National Assembly for rejecting the move. House of Representatives passes vote of no confidence on the Minister of Solid Minerals for failing to attend House debate on iron and steel sector, but the minister describes the decision as unwarranted and unfair. Governors of Nigeria's 19 northern states insist on state police, say cattle ranching is the solution to the herdsmen and farmers' crisis in the country. And Russian President Vladimir Putin unveils new set of nuclear weapons he describes as invincible. Now, for more on our top stories and others, please visit our website, channelstv.com and youtube.com/channelsweb. Also, please log on to m.channelstv.com to watch us on your mobile device, or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows devices from their respective stores. The Channels TV and Channels 24 app will give you access to news and updates. You'll also have access to the Eyewitness feature, with which you can share those pictures, videos, or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu and follow the instructions. Now, here are some of the images and videos that you sent in. Let's begin with this one from Iyano Ilugbo axis of the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway, showing the terrible state of the road. According to our eyewitness reporter, this road has been like this after several promises by the state and federal governments to fix it. Our eyewitness reporter laments the trouble residents go through every time they have to use it, especially when it rains. He calls for urgent attention. Similar to that is this one from Berigbe Road at Ikorodu, also in Lagos, also showing the bad state of the road. According to our eyewitness reporter, using this road is like going through hell. He's calling on the state government to ease the stress residents go through, and quickly too.
Under the same Lagos state, we are Lagosians. We voted for Ambode. We don't know why the government has neglected us. We cannot even go out to work. This is a Wawa junction in the Ikorodu Central. We are begging Lagos State government. We are begging Ambode. We are begging APC people. Please come to our aid.
Finally, is this image from Timber Road in Calabar, the Cross River State capital, showing the scene of a mishap. Our eyewitness reports that the tree fell on this car parked, but thankfully there's no casualty. We thank you for sending in these pictures. Please note that you too can send your stories, but be reminded to indicate where your story is coming from. The Nigerian Senate on Wednesday gave government agencies an ultimatum of 1 week to step forward with the details of their 2018 budget and be prepared to defend the figures. The deadline comes as Nigeria steps into the third month of the new year, with the 20 appropriations still on the drawing board. This report by Channels Television's business editor, Boston Amofai, looks at some of the key issues surrounding this year's budget and what they mean for the economy.
The past few years have seen Nigeria's budgetary calendar year dislocated with overlapping periods, making their performance more difficult and with attendant negative impact on business and economy. The root cause may, however, be found in the irregular calendar of the budget preparations by the executive, followed by a period of budgetary defense and deliberations at the National Assembly, and followed by the executive branch vetting before the president appends his signature. As Nigeria enters the final month of the first quarter 2018, not a word has been heard from the executive on when Budget 2017 that started in June last year will terminate. There is also no word on the balance of expenditure and outstanding projects from 2017. Now the budget for 2018 is passing through another cycle of delays and blame game between the executive and the legislature. But the Senate President Bukola Saraki says there will be no more delays, at least from his Senate chamber.
As we all know, it's our intention this year to pass the general budget along with the parastatals budget. And as such, parastatals as well should ensure that they do not also cause any delay, because we're not going to pass the general budget without the budget of the parastatals, because we gave them a deadline also for the parastatals to make sure that they've submitted their budget. Anything that doesn't come by end of next week, the subcommittees should just complete the exercise and work with whatever they have. I think I rule on that. That's the position of the Senate. Thank you.
One of the key constraints the administration faces is the smooth preparation, debate, passage, and implementation of its budgets. Boston Amofaye, Channels Television News.
Now let's take a further look into this developing story, and I'm now being joined on the News at 10 by an economist, Dr. Boniface Chizia. Thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you, Ladi, for having me on. Yes.
Now, this seeming budget face-off, again, now, the plan was that at the end of last year when the budget was presented, for it to be passed so that we can have a full financial year. But that obviously is not going to be the case. Now, in terms of its impact on the economy, we're just coming out of recession. What do you think, how has that affected the economy so far?
Well, I think that, first of all, I think it's important to put things in context. To say that the budget was presented on November 7th, and there was high expectations. Even the presidency, in the text of this presentation, did express the expectation that let's get to, January to December budgeting. So there was high expectations. So we thought that by now we could have considerably down the road. You cannot begin to have your budget approved mid-year, and you expect to.
Which was the situation last year.
So this is like you're trying to make an omelette without breaking eggs. You can't do that. So you have your, but particularly, you have the capital expenditure aspect, which is about 30% of the budget, and that's what could drive growth. The others are just maintenance. You're paying people salaries and so on and so forth, so which you have to do. People have to live. But what is going to drive growth is going to be capital expenditure, and of course, particularly the process. If you have issues with capital back and cash backing and so on, the approval process, getting through the system, those are issues. So for as long as we don't have that, it will be unrealistic for us, to be thinking that we'll be able to drive sort of development and growth which we want to see in this economy. But as we are in a hurry to exit, we'll exit the recession, but we want to drive growth. We just done 1.9%.
Which is not very strong.
No, I mean, compare the fact that your population is growing at about 3%, and you're doing 1.9%, then the development you're looking for, you won't get it. So those are some of the challenges.
Now, we listened to the Senate president there saying that, look, if by the end of next week or the middle of next week, whichever one is the week, 1 week deadline, that if they don't get the MDAs to come and defend their budgets, they should work with whatever Mr. President presented, and in all probability, this passage will then be unilateral because there will be no opportunity to make adjustments. And if they adjust, it will be without the inputs of the agencies.
Well, I don't understand that. I think that they better get on with business. I take a position, I've canvassed this before, that in fact, going back to the ministries, departments, and agencies, getting them to individually come to the Senate to defend their budget is untenable. It doesn't make sense. I mean, you get the executive presents the budget to you. Now, if you look at administratively, it comes to you through the executive. If you have any issues to raise on the budget, you should go back to the executive. Now, for the executive to put the budget together, they've not just taken business from the ministries and departments and just lumped it together. They've interacted with the budget office of the Federation. There have been conversations, there have been negotiations, there have been concessions, there have been give and take and so on before this was put together to reflect the policy, the views of the president on the economy. So once that is taken to the Senate, ideally, what should happen is that if there are any issues, the budget office should be involved, and not the ministries, departments, and agencies. And so I think that they should just go ahead with the budget and conclude it, if you ask me.
Okay, of course, that would then mean that whatever impact it will have, we will then have to wait and see when eventually it is passed.
Yes.
Whenever that is. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Boniface Chizia, on the News at 10.
Thank you for having me.
Now, to legal matters, Federal High Court in Abuja has granted bail to the senator representing Kogi West, Dino Melaye, in the sum of 100,000 naira and one surety, who is not less than a level 14 officer in the Federal Civil Service. The federal government is alleging that Senator Melaye, who is representing Kogi West Senatorial District, falsely incriminated the Chief of Staff to Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State, Mr. Edward Onoja, in an alleged assassination attempt. Senator Malaya entered a not guilty plea and was granted bail, in spite of the agitation by the prosecution on the grounds that the lawmaker allegedly poses a flight risk, having evaded service of the suit. In her ruling, Justice Olasumbo Goodluck held that the federal government failed to adduce sufficient evidence capable of warranting the court to deny Senator Malaya bail. The court held that the defendant is constitutionally presumed innocent until proven guilty, and the case has been adjourned till May the 16th and 17th for trial.
I also bought a bottle of Coke in case there's no Coke there, but justice shall prevail.
God bless you.
And now we go to our Abuja studios where Ibrahim Adra is waiting with more news. Good evening, Ibrahim.
Lady, good evening to you. Now, get involved in political leadership and stop criticizing those in government from the comfort of your homes. That's the message from the former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Senator Amadu Ali, at the launch of his biography in Abuja. Speaking against the backdrop of how former President Olusegun Obasanjo and former military head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, made their early contributions to nation building, the former federal lawmaker and retired military officer is asking youth to actively get involved in politics.
I'd like to give a round of applause.
Call it a gathering of high political bigwigs in Nigeria, and you may not be wrong. It is the launch of the biography of a former national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Amadu Ali, in Abuja. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo and former military head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, are among the dignitaries attending. Expectedly, the gathering provides the opportunity for some in attendance to reflect on the personalities of the former PDP chairman.
As chairman of the party when I was president, most of what we were able to achieve because of Amadu Ali's steadfastness and loyalty. Not loyalty to me only as an individual and as head of government, but loyalty to Nigeria.
Amadu Ali, he has been a very versatile young man, and his work for me as Minister for Education and in charge of also the National Youth Service Corps was exemplary. And I would like to say thank you all those first in a group of National Service Corps for what you did.
Next is the official unveiling of the book titled The Many Colors of a Rainbow, a biography of the former federal lawmaker, Senator Amadu Ali. He challenges young people in Nigeria to get involved in politics.
We tried our best. We expect you younger ones to try your best. Get up and do something. Have a second address. Politics is no job. You don't just quote the age. Do something and let us know where you are.
Senator Amadu Ali is not the only person to have recently asked young people to be actively involved in politics. Many are eager to see how these calls on young people will indeed affect Nigeria's political structure in 2019 and beyond.
Now on the news at 10 returns, federal government to name and shame as well as prosecute tax offenders after March the 31st deadline. That will be in our business package. Do join us again.